Podcast One presents The LadyGang, the Hollywood girl posse, with LadyGang Quickie. Here's keltieknight, Beccatobin, and jacvanek.
Let's make this quick.
It is officially the end of the year and time to take stock on how we all felt this year. And if you are one of the gang, your answer is probably something along the lines of, I promised I would take better care of myself this year, and I still feel kind of bleh. So now we're in the season of overindulging. It is the Hollywood.
It's the Hollywood holidays.
The holidays.
Hollywood holidays.
And the holidays can bring on all types of weird feelings, and that is totally okay. There's such a giant connection between gut health and brain health. And today, our friend Tina Anderson, who you all fell in love with already, is back to discuss the gut-brain connection, explain why you've been wasting money on supplements that don't even make it all the way to your guts, explain how to support your super stressful lifestyle. Basically, it's a podcast just for me. Please welcome back to the podcast the founder of Just Thrive, Tina Anderson.
Woo! Welcome.
Wow, thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Welcome back. I think about you every night. I have to be honest with you. I think about you every night
too.
Because
creepy.
It's super creepy. But I do want to say one thing I did right this year was I promised that I was going to probiotic, and I did it. And so when I open my thing beside my sink every night, I see my Just Thrive probiotic, and then I see my Just Calm. I take them at the same time. I don't know if I'm supposed to do that. And it really freaking works. So thank you. Changed my life. My guts are so much better. This time last year, let's be honest, I was pooping my pants on the LadyGang tour, and I haven't had that happen to me this year. So congratulations to me and my guts. Welcome back, Tina.
Thank you. Well, that's awesome. That's quite a testimonial. So I'm happy to hear that.
She can write that down for your website if you want it, just on the landing page.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
So for people who don't know, can you tell me a little bit of your backstory? You started in big pharma and you realized you weren't helping people enough, and you made this switch and founded this company, and your story's incredible.
Yeah. Actually, even a little bit further back, I was in litigation. So I'm an attorney. I was doing trial work for many years. And then I went into the family pharmaceutical business just because, I was like, oh, this is great. More of a work-life balance. And I'm like, this is actually I'm going to be helping people with their health. I'm going to be helping deliver life-saving medications. And after being in that industry for a while, really started to see that you're really not helping a lot of people. There is a place for pharmaceuticals. And I say that all the time. It's just not a place for chronic conditions. And we see this all the time. We see people going on one medication, and then that medication causes other side effects. And then they're on another medication. And the next thing you know, they're on a dozen different medications, never feeling any better. And so I do believe that pharmaceuticals are great for acute type of situations. I think they're great for, emergency type situations. But when we're talking about chronic issues, whether it's, gastrointestinal issues like we're talking about, whether it's autoimmune issues, mental health issues, whatever it is, I think those are the types of situations where we have to get to the root cause. Why in the world do we have these issues? Why do I have high cholesterol? Why do I have high blood pressure? Why do I have gas and bloating? We need to get to the root cause of it. And that is just something that's missing in the pharmaceutical world. And so my husband and I were kind of felt like we weren't doing our life's work. And we were really fortunate of being at the right place at the right time. And we were able to license these very, very exclusive strains from London University. We had the exclusive rights to these particular strains. And when we brought them to the market, we were disruptors in the market. And so it's been so amazing, the most gratifying career journey I have ever been on, because we are literally changing people's lives every day. And it's so much fun.
And I could just personally say that I can attest to that, because a lot of women in my life, mostly women, deal with a lot of anxiety. And I have a lot of good friends with small children who have hit this crossroads where they feel like they need to be medicated for anxiety and depression and all these other super fun things that we get to deal with as people. And they are afraid, as they should be, to take those big leaps into the big pharma world. And so I always say, Just Calm and the Just Thrive probiotic combination, like Kelty was saying, it's like their baby step into addressing the issue and trying to sort of get their handle on it and realizing that that's actually all that they needed.
Yeah, it's so crazy that when we get to the gut, we now know the gut is responsible for virtually every aspect of our overall health. And I say that over and over and over again, but I feel like as a society, we're still just starting to understand that. We all we're kind of conditioned, oh, we need to take a multivitamin. And everyone just was like, well, it doesn't really make me feel any different, but I know it's good for me to get that, get those multivitamins. But really now what we're learning is that the gut is really where we need to start. Before we do anything else, it's where we start in overall health. I mean, it is dictating every aspect of our health. And so all of these other nutrients, any other supplements that we're taking aren't really going to work that well if our gut is inflamed. And unfortunately, because of the world we're living in right now, we are seeing, most people's guts are inflamed. And so this is where we need to start. And especially, people are always considering, oh, I have gas and bloating. Oh, my gut must be imbalanced. Yes. Okay. That's good that they know that. But they're not thinking about, oh God, I'm really stressed out all the time. Or, I have a lot of anxiety, or I'm feeling down a lot more than I normally would. Those are all signs that there's something going on with your gut. And that's where you need to start. I feel like, psychiatrists and psychologists have had their hands tied for so long because they've been focusing on the wrong part of the body. They need to be focusing on the gut, because so much of our mental health is dictated by the health of our gut.
I just heard someone refer to our gut as our second brain.
Yeah. Well, that's why you have a
some
gut
people
instinct.
would argue it's our first brain.
Yeah.
What's crazy is, I'll tell you this, and I'm not a doctor, so probably I'm not supposed to tell you this, but my friend is one of the greatest brain doctors in the world. And he told me at a party that they're working and going to be able to solve Parkinson's in the next 5 years. And they can find the root of it in your gut. They can find it by doing a test to your gut. You can tell if you're going to get Parkinson's.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on right now.
Allegedly.
I think there's going to be a time in the next probably 10 years where we're going to be taking multiple different types of probiotics, because we know that we need to be nourishing certain strains of bacteria in our gut. And I mean, we know so much more now than we did 15, 20 years ago. But I think in the future, the next 15, 20 years, it's just our minds will be blown about how much we have to be taking care of our gut.
I have a question for you, and I'm sure a lot of our Lady Gang listeners listened to the last episode that you were on, and you were telling us about the Just Thrive probiotics. And they're spore-based, and I forget why that was so important. Can you tell us why? Because I know that's something that's super special to your probiotics.
Yeah, great question. And thanks for asking it, because I think it is really important. I love that people are talking about probiotics right now. The problem is that it's really important to be taking a spore-based probiotic. And the reason is that a spore-based probiotic has this endospore shell around itself. And what that means is that shell actually protects itself. So it makes it from the journey from your mouth all the way down into your intestines. So most probiotics they don't have that shell around themselves. And so they will die before they even hit the intestines. They may do something. They may give you some symptomatic type of relief, but they're not making a true change in the gut, where the spores have this shell around themselves. And when they have that shell around themselves, they're dormant. They're not live. So they're dormant when you swallow them. When they hit the intestines, they take their shell off and they go into their live vegetative cell state. And that's what makes them so powerful. And they stay there for about 21 to 28 days, where they're going and getting rid of the overgrowth of bad bacteria and helping our good bacteria kind of come back to life and flourish in our gut. So it's such a more effective approach to our gut health. The other types of probiotics out there that are not spores, they're not bad or anything like that. They're just not nearly as effective. Most of them will die by the time they ever get to the intestines. The stomach is meant to be the gastric barrier. It's very, very acidic. The overwhelming majority of probiotics are dead before they ever get to the intestines. And this has been studied time and time again. It was one of the first studies we did was a gastric survivability study, showed the overwhelming majority of probiotics on the market are dying by the time they get to the intestines. And these are probiotics that are sold at our, fancy, the grocery stores out there that have 50 billion CFUs, 150 CFUs. They're just dying. And so that's the cool thing about the spores is they go in there and they survive the gastric system and they go to work for you.
Because it's funny when you go to Whole Foods and you're like, oh, it's live probiotic. It has to be refrigerated.
I'm
like, it has to be
you
good.
guys are idiots. You don't know what you're doing. Don't waste your money. It's like one of my favorite dinner party conversations when I turn to them. They're like, do you know that the probiotics don't even make it to your gut because they eat them up?
Isn't it bad that the refrigerated ones, right? It's like not great.
Well, right. If the probiotic needs to be refrigerated, to me, that's a sign of a very sensitive organism, because if it needs to be refrigerated, it can't even withstand the room temperature of the store shelf. Then how in the world would it ever survive your body temperature, which is 98.6?
Not this hot bod.
Yeah, a probiotic that needs to be refrigerated is a sign of a very sensitive organism that's in there that would never withstand the body temperature of your own body.
So crazy.
Okay, Tina, you're going to be so mad at me when I ask you this, but when I was looking up the gut-brain axis and a lot of your information, I wanted to ask you this. So I know that drinking Diet Coke and eating a McDonald's French fry is like a cocaine. Like I feel really happy when I do it. So my brain feels happy, and then my brain feels sad. I think when it actually gets to my gut, then I feel a little bit sick and I feel sad. But why do I feel so happy and then I feel so sad? Is this my brain gut connection? I'm sorry. I just love a barbecue sauce McDonald's French fry, and I need you to explain to me why and how. Help me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's definitely the gut brain connection. I mean, it's your dopamine. You're like, you're getting the dopamine and then you're bringing yourself down, and then, your gut is getting disrupted and it sends signals back up to your brain. And then you're like, oh, kind of let down after that. And people think it's so crazy to say, oh, come on, Tina, that's woo-woo. But think about it. When you're nervous or excited about something, you get butterflies in your stomach. I mean, that is your brain talking to your gut. Or if you're really nervous, you start having to go to the bathroom more than you normally would. And so those are all signs to us that our gut and brain are communicating with each other. And it's really important to keep that communication going. We want that communication going between our gut and our brain.
For people who are really novices at this conversation, we forget that we live in places where all people talk about at dinner parties are their microbiomes. And so how do you know, just an everyday person who doesn't have resource to the LadyGang or access to LadyGang dinner parties, what is a sign that your microbiome is off? Like what are those things?
Yeah, also a great question, because I would argue that 80% of the adult population has some type of dysbiosis, if not more than 80% have some type of imbalance going on in their gut. The most obvious ones are things like digestive issues, gas and bloating, diarrhea, constipation, and like acid reflux. All of those types of, symptoms that you have are definitely signs that you have some gut problems going on. People, it's kind of like an epidemic right now with people being so bloated. Everyone's so bloated and they're like, oh, if I don't eat that, then I won't get bloated. Well, if I don't eat broccoli, I won't get bloated. Well, you shouldn't get bloated after you're eating something. That's a sign that there's something going on. But what now we know, if people have allergies or if they have an autoimmune issue, they absolutely have a gut imbalance going on. Mood issues like mental health disorders are definitely, Alzheimer's, dementia, anxiety, depression. Those are all signals that you have gut imbalance. Acne is a big one. That's actually how I got my teenage daughters when they were teenagers to start the product, because they were having so many skin blemishes going on, in their teenage years. And they started on the product and they started to see like, oh my gosh, their skin started to clear up. So skin issues are a huge indicator that you have some imbalance going on in your gut. It's really hard to find any condition out there that's not associated with an imbalance in your gut. It's where you start with health.
Oh my gosh.
And so the offenders of gut health are being alive and everything. But you talk about antibiotics, toxins, chemicals in our food, the over-prescribing of medicines. What I thought was so interesting, and we didn't talk about it last time, was like all the antibacterial stuff in our life, like all the antibacterial soaps and wipes. And we got so like into that during COVID that now everyone has it in their bag. So can you talk about some of the things in our regular lives that are like really messing up our guts?
Yeah, no, you mentioned so many of them. Antibiotics, not just antibiotics that we take, but antibiotics that are found in our animal products that we're eating meat, and I'm sorry, but the McDonald's sandwich very likely has lots of antibiotics in that meat. And so the antibiotics that are all over us, that are around us, the chemicals that are around us, we're all the chemicals, the pesticides, herbicides that are in our food, glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in Roundup, is sprayed all over our produce. So, we're trying to eat healthy, having an apple or pear or something. And then next thing you know, we're ingesting all of these glyphosates that are very disruptive to our gut health. Stress is another big disruptor to our gut health. And we think it's like, oh, it's so woo-woo again. No, I mean, stress is really impacting our gut health. We see that in studies and research all the time. Some of the other big offenders out there, let me think. The household cleaning products. I talk about this all the time. Like you mentioned, the antibacterial soaps. I mean, oh my God, it was driving me nuts with all of the antibacterial soaps. We have this vision in our lives that bacteria is bad. Bacteria, we have to change that. We need a PR campaign for bacteria because bacteria
can't afford a publicist.
Yeah, I know. Bacteria is not only is it not harmful, I mean, less than 1% of bacteria is actually harmful. The overwhelming majority of bacteria on us is literally so beneficial for us. So we don't want to be killing off all of our, the bacteria with hand sanitizers and antibacterial soaps. It's very detrimental. I always say just use soap and water and, clean things off. I don't use cleaning supplies that say like kills 99.99% of the bacteria, because those cleaning supplies, actually, there was a study that showed that households who use those actually had children with a higher incidence of allergies and autoimmune issues. So we really we don't want to be too clean. We want to keep the bacteria around us.
I just heard that there's children who live in communities that spend more time in dirt, really like outside and dirty, have less autoimmune stuff. And it is all that stuff that we're like Cloroxing and bleaching and spraying. And I'm so happy we're realizing this right now.
Yeah. And I always talk about the fact that I was a child a very, 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 very long time ago. And I knew one classmate that had a peanut allergy, where obviously, nowadays you can't, I'm talking about one classmate from kindergarten all the way through the end of high school, and with a peanut allergy. And nowadays, of course, we know there's peanut-free tables. I mean, that's another epidemic. I mean, we're dealing with all these epidemics, and we're now finding out, since the Human Microbiome Project was launched, that so much of these issues, so much of our chronic diseases are really being caused by an imbalance in our gut. And so it's where we start. 80% of our immune cells are found in our gut lining. I mean, if our microbiome, the bacteria living in our gut, is not functioning properly, it will not signal to our immune cells to activate. So we have got to be taking care of our gut health for just overall immune health, staying healthy and not getting sick as often. I just can't state it enough. I mean, it's where we start with health.
Wow. When we come back, I want to talk about my feelings.
The Lady Gang.
We're back with Tina. I really wanted to get into this. You have this product, Just Calm, and we've talked about it before, but people are like, oh, it helps with your cortisol levels. Cortisol levels. I don't know what a cortisol level is. I hear it talked about all the time. What is that? Why is that bad? And I don't understand what's happening. Please explain to me.
Yes.
Tina.
Well, cortisol is actually good if it comes in the right amounts. We wake up in the morning with high levels of cortisol. We want that because we want to start the day and we want to, go on with the day. And then as we go on the day, your cortisol levels will drop. Ideally, that's what we want. And we want low cortisol at night, so it's easier to fall asleep. But what's happening now is that we're getting stressed out. We're in this fight or flight response. Our fight or flight response, what we evolved with it, it's a protective mechanism. I mean, we're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. We want our fight or flight response to, be accentuated, and we want to have our cortisol levels high because we want to run away from that saber-toothed tiger. The problem in the world we're living in now is our cortisol levels are always high. We get a tweet, or we read a tweet and our cortisol levels are high. We get an email and our cortisol levels are high. We are not bringing our cortisol levels down during the day. And so this is a problem. It's why we're constantly in that sympathetic nervous state where we are constantly stressed out. And that is not good for us. I mean, it's not good to have the cortisol, because then what happens is the cortisol dumps into our gut, and then the gut starts to become very dysbiotic, and we start having leakiness of the gut. And then that cortisol starts seeping into our bloodstream, and then we start inflammatory processes, and the inflammation goes into our brain, and it's just a very dangerous cascade of events. So, we want to wake up with higher cortisol. We don't want to wake up with super high cortisol. A lot of people are doing that, but we certainly don't want to go to bed with high cortisol, because you're not going to be able to fall asleep or stay asleep.
And so then what's in the Just Calm that brings you the calm?
Calm. Yes. So this is really exciting. This is a strain that's called a psychobiotic. It's once again, like our spore-based probiotic, we were disruptors in the market, brought something that was very researched, very unique to the market. Now this psychobiotic it's the most extensively studied psychobiotic strain out there. We have research from APC University in Cork, Ireland. It is the most preeminent gut research institute out there. And what we now know is that people who have high levels of bifidolongum 1714, that's the name of the strain that's in Just Calm. People who have high levels of this bifidolongum 1714 are actually calmer. They're able to perceive stress level better. They have normal cortisol levels. They have better brainwave activity. And so what this APC University did out of Cork, Ireland, they actually isolated this strain of probiotics, and that is what is in Just Calm that is making the difference. It's why you're feeling calmer when you're taking that strain, because it's actually helping balance out your cortisol. It's helping you have a better perception of stress. And there are numerous studies on this particular strain that are actually showing that people are able to, it's actually changing our brainwave activity, putting us more into that theta wave state. So theta wave is like more that flow, creative type of state that we want to get into, like when we're meditating, for example. So we know that this strain is just helping us handle stress better and helping improve that gut-brain connection. That the vagus nerve is what communicates. That's how the gut and brain communicate with each other. The psychobiotic strain that's found in our Just Calm product actually helps increase that communication between the gut and the brain. So it's why we're seeing such profound results with the product.
I take it at night right now. Could I take it during the day? I'm always stressed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
it doesn't matter the time.
Yes. So especially if you wake up, when we were starting this business, and I was so crazy busy all the time, 3 kids, running around, I would take it. I mean, I would have taken it in the morning if I had it. I mean, we had not launched it at that time because I was always waking up, and I would check my cortisol levels. It's not going to make you
sleepy, right?
No, it doesn't, but it does promote sleep, when you're going to bed. So some people take it at night and some people take it in the morning. I actually now take it at the afternoon, because I feel like that's when, for some reason, that's when my cortisol level seems to go up. I've done a couple tests to determine that. So I take mine in the afternoon. So, but a lot of people will take it in the morning and then they'll take it again at night. Some people just take it either in the morning or at night.
My Oura Ring tells me when I'm the most stressed, so I'll use that information.
There you go.
That's a great idea. Yeah, it's a great idea. It's amazing how it's worked. I mean, I have had personal family members and friends who it has literally changed their lives. I mean, they were, just always in that crazy fight or flight state, and it brought them down. And it doesn't mean we are going to be faced with stressors every day. I mean, we know that we can't get away with it. So that's what the key is with this product is helping us like kind of neutralize those stressors, and that's what we need to do in order to get more into a calm state on a regular basis.
Is this safe for pregnant women?
We have not tested it on pregnant women. So I would always tell people to, check with their doctor to make sure. Most doctors will, not have any problem with a probiotic.
Right.
Probiotics are very safe and they're isolated from healthy humans to begin with. So I can't imagine it, but I would always recommend taking or asking your doctor.
Yeah, for the calm.
The other thing I was going to say is just that, I think that we're fed, and this can be like a final thought, but I think we're fed, especially as women, this kind of ridiculous narrative that if you get up every day with a sense of gratitude and you eat your healthy diet and you do your meditation and your exercise, then you will feel happy and better and grounded and have a purposeful life. But I actually think that's a load of crap, because the truth is even when I was able to do those three things, eat as healthy as I possibly could, meditate or do some sort of journaling stuff, and then exercise, my life was still stressful. And it's just this strange, bizarre thing that we're fed that we're somehow bad at life, or we're failing, or we're not a good woman because we still feel stressed, or we still can feel these root causes bubbling up in us, the gas, the bloating, the anxiety, the non-sleeping, all of those things. Oh, well, if I was a better woman, I would be able to handle this. And I think what I love about your messaging is that no, the world is kind of screwing you with everything that it's putting out. Your cleaners, your hand sanitizers, the iPhone, your apps, the way we communicate via email. There is no figuring this out kind of on your own. Is that am I making sense, Tina?
Yeah, no, and I think especially with women, we are getting, whether you're, in your reproductive years or whether you're in your menopausal years. I mean, it's just take women are crazy. You're on your period and oh my God, just take an antidepressant or take an anti-anxiety med. And it's so frustrating to me because we're not getting to the root cause. Doctors, we're never getting to the root cause of that. And it's we're these, I totally hear what you're saying. And because I feel it now, even in my age group where most of my friends are in their menopausal years. It's you just see that they're just telling everyone they're crazy and that, they need to take some medicine. And it's really let's get to the root cause and and we're not crazy. And there's a lot going on. And I see this with my daughters who are in their 20s and a lot of their friends who are having these issues. And it's a shame. And you're right. I mean, that could be a whole other podcast episode.
Yeah. It's just it's not your fault necessarily that you feel so bad. Earth is just really, really hard. And I think one of the reasons that we wanted to have you back on the show is that, it is a profound group of products that you have. I mean, you have many, many products on your website, but these two in particular have really changed the game for us. And I'm I think it's our job as a LadyGang to have experts and people like you on the show to be hey, these are very simple things that you can add to your life that are going to make it easier for you. It doesn't have to be hard. It's going to be hard no matter what, but here's how we can help it make womanhood a little more manageable. And that's what I really love about what you've created. And I just think you're so amazing. My last question for you, Tina, is just what do you hope listeners take away from this episode? If you're listening right now, you've never thought about your gut brain health before, what do you want to say to them?
What I really want to say to them is to empower yourself with your own health. You have to be your own advocate. I think one of my personal passions in life is just getting people to question their doctors when they go to the doctor. Understand, you need to be the CEO of your own health because nobody else is going to. We have to know doctors are taught in medical school by medical schools that are funded by big pharma. Doctors are taught about pharmaceuticals. They are not taught about preventative measures and preventative, lifestyle changes. They are starting to a little bit now. And I think doctors are very wonderful human beings and they're very smart human beings, but they are getting fed a certain narrative. And that's fine. You could read that narrative and you could understand it, but there's another big narrative out there and it's about taking control of your health. And whether it's our probiotic or another probiotic, start researching the gut microbiome, start researching how important it is. When you have a problem and you go to the doctor, ask questions like why, have your own list of blood work that you want to get. Don't just do the normal blood work that your doctor doctor prescribes for you is that order is like so basic. It's not even funny. Understand what tests you need to really measure certain things, but don't quickly get on a medication just because your doctor told you. Understand why and get to the bottom of it. And I'm not saying not to ever go on a medication. I'm just saying really understand. And if you are okay with medication, then that's fine, but really get to the bottom, to the root cause of it, and be your own advocate and start with your gut. I'm telling you, I always say in the pharmaceutical world, they say side effects include suicidal thoughts, bloody stools, all these horrible things. And with our product, it's like side effects include more energy, better weight management, sleeping better. We see this all the time. So you have nothing to lose by focusing on your gut health.
I love that.
Yay.
On that note, you can focus on your gut health because Tina's brought us a deal. For a limited time, you can save 20% off site-wide at justthrivehealth.com. I know you've been there before. Just Thrive, THRIVE, health.com. Promo code LadyGang20. Take control of your health with Just Thrive. Tina, thank you for coming back. I'm so happy we're reminding everyone to take care of themselves. And we'll see you very soon, I hope. And I hope everyone has a great holiday season and that Becca never has to go to the hospital for having a fart ever again. Inside joke. We just had an episode. Anyway, long story short, that's another episode. We weren't here for a long time.
We were here
for a good time.
Thanks for listening. The Lady Gang is produced by Alex Ingber, Steve Delameter, and Jared Monaco. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. And if you love it, share it with your friends on social media. Like, oh my God, I just listened to Lady Gang. This episode's so great. Swipe up to listen. And if you really want to, which we know you do, please follow us on social at Keltie, at Becca, at jacvanek, and at The Lady Gang. Sign up for our newsletter at theladygang.com and join our secret Facebook group. It's super fun. See you next Tuesday.